today. Awak is now on the call. So over to you, Awak.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Please kindly confirm that you can hear me. Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, I want to apologize for joining this late. That's basically because due to network at my end. So I'm so sorry for joining late. So today we are going to have a practical session on how to go about building reports in Power BI. Yeah, thank you very much. You can hear me loud and clear. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Once again, my name is Mbotide Mawak. If you're just joining in the last, should I say, day 5 for this program, we have been talking about Power BI since the inception of this program, where we talk about how to import data, how to analyze data, how to clean data, data transformation, and how we are going to be learning today how to visualize data. So we have spent enough of our time. So I'm just going to be starting off with, I've imported my data already into Power BI, and you should be familiar with the steps of data importation. So I've cleaned my data just, using the first row as headers. So I've done that, and I have my data in Power BI loud and clear. So I'm just going to go ahead to build my report in Power BI. But before I start off with building my report in Power BI, I always love having a separate table for my measures and my columns and my column header. So let me switch a bit below here. So I love having a separate table for my column head for my measures. So I'm going to start with, you see on my home tab, you can see that I have enter data option. So I'm just going to select enter data. So for the enter data, because I want my table to be at the top of these icons, I don't want it to be below here. I want to be creating all my measures into this table. So I'm going to go ahead and use an underscore. I can say underscore measure. So these are the where I'm going to be creating all my measures in this report. So I'm going to go ahead to load. I don't want to edit because editing would redirect me to the Power Query editor. I'm not editing, so I'm just going to go ahead to click on load. So you could see that using this underscore as created has made me place all measures, or you can use either not measures, you can say all calculations. So all calculations I'm going to be performing is going to be on the measures icon. So having said that, I'm going to start off by creating, and we could go to our table view. You have already familiarized yourself with the data, where we have the customers data. We also have location. Let's go over this. And we also have orders table, product table, and the sales rep table. So I want to create a measure for the total sales. I want to create a measure on the orders table. I need total sales. So I want to create a measure for total sales. I'm also going to create a measure for profit as well. So I'm going to switch back to my report view, right click on this icon. I'm going to see option for new measures. So when I have my new measure selected, I'm going to say, let me say revenue. I want to create for revenue. I'm going to use the sum function. Have this open, and it's going to reference the column name. So I want to reference my sales, orders of sales, close my bracket, and I'm going to press enter on my keyboard. Please, I'll be coming to questions. We are just starting. So I've already spent 30 minutes. So having said that, then I'll be coming to questions, so please just pardon me. The next measure I want to create is going to be my profit measures. I want to create all my measures. I'm going to say profit or profit. I'm going to still use the reference is sum function. Reference is sum function. I'm going to just type in profits, close my bracket, and I'm going to press enter. The next measure I'm going to create is going to be the profit margin measures. Still on the same tab, I'm going to right click, use new measures. I'm going to write, always endeavor to give your measures a name. So profit margin, I'm going to use the divide function. Then to say divide, the numerator is going to be, I'm going to reference my profits. So I'm going to reference this measure, comma, I'm going to reference my denominator, which is going to be my revenue. So this is optional. Alternate result is just optional. So I'm going to use this. You see this tick icon, and I'm going to reference that. The next measure I would love to create is going to be, let's say we want to create, let's see, maybe total numbers of products. We also want to create total number of customers. So I'm going to go ahead to create different measures that is going to form my card visual. So I can say, should I say total customers? Let's say for an example, total customers. For total customers, I'm going to go ahead to use the distinct count. So if I should use the count function might count south, south, south twice. But if I use distinct count, it's going to count south just once, for an example. So I'm going to use distinct count. Distinct count is going to reference, I'm going to say distinct count of my customer's ID. I'm going to press enter on my keyboard, and peradventure the next measure I'm going to create, let's just look at the net profit. I'm going to create the next profit. So I'm going to say net profit. For net profit, I'm going to use orders of sales. I'm going to reference sum revenue multiply by, open my bracket, 1 minus orders of, oh my God, I don't have my discounts here. I wanted to use a related function. Let's see. I'm going to multiply and use a function called related. So column name to be related is going to be orders of 1 minus discounts, orders of discounts. Okay, I'm not supposed to create a measure. I'm supposed to create a calculated table, a calculated column with that. So I'll come back to that. I'm to create a calculated column, not a measure. So having created my measures that I'll use as my KPIs in my dashboard, the next thing we are going to create is going to be a date table. So for us to create a date table, you remember we use that's for the times intelligence function, where we created them, we use, I'm going to select new table, but I just want to explain this briefly. So where we created for the date table, we are going to create a time intelligence function where we are going to extract year, extract month, and so on. So someone was asking me the other day, how can we go about it in a very easy way? So this is what you are going to see. I have my modeling tab selected. I'm going to highlight my new table. So when I highlight my new table, I'm going to reference calendar for an example. I'm going to say calendar is equals to, so I'm going to use the add column options because I want to add a lot of columns in this table. So for the add columns options, I have my bracket opened and I'm going to I'm going to reference the calendar auto function. When I reference the calendar auto functions, this is fiscal year end month. So it's optional. So I'm just going to close the bracket. I'm going to add a comma to that. I'm going to start with my year. I'm going to say year, comma. I'm going to use the year function. I'm going to the year. I'm going to reference for year is going to be calendar dates. And here is going to be the date. So this is my date. I'm going to close the bracket for year, add a comma, go to the next one. We're going to create a month for that. Month command. For month to use a format, use a format option. I'm also going to reference calendar dates. Reference my dates. Comma. Format is going to be not capitalized. Let's leave it in small letters. So I'm going to close the open quotes and I'm going to close the brackets. I'm going to add a comma. I'm going to also go ahead to create month number where we are going to use to sort. Month number, comma. Also going to use the month function. Dates, open bracket. Going to use the date. Going to close my bracket, comma. The next one we are going to look at is going to be the quarter, comma. I'm going to say format. For quarter, we use a format function. Values, I'm going to reference. Values is always going to be your date. So I'm going to reference this, comma. Use my backslash, QQ, close my quotes, comma. I can go ahead to, let's let me see if I can, let's quickly create a weekday and weekdays, comma. I'm going to still use the format function. Values, I should have just copied this. Let me just copy. When it's format, let me just copy, have this highlighted and paste it. I'm just going to change this to DDD, like Monday, Tuesday, short form. Take over that again. I'm going to say week number, comma. So I'm going to reference the weekday for the week number. I'm going to reference calendar date. You see, it has just one expression. This other return type is optional. So I'm going to say date. I'm going to close my bracket. I go down. I go to the next line rather. So I've closed my bracket for this add column options. So when you are okay, when I'm done with that, I have to recheck that my formulas are accurate. I have all my commas, apostrophes, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead to commit this. Okay, I don't put this is correct. So I'm going to go ahead to commit that. I'm just going to click outside my canvas and my calendar date has been created. So let me switch back to my table view. On my table view, this is my calendar date. I'm going to have this selected. Go to on my table tools. I'm going to select my tables tools, select it as mark as date. And already you should know why we mark as dates. Have this selected, valid successful. I'm going to click on save. So having done that, I'm going to switch back to my report view. So before I go ahead to before we start creating our reports, I saw some hands. So just in 2 seconds, I just want to look at. Okay, it's attendance. Okay. How can you know what measures to set up? Measures to set up is basically going to be your profit, maybe your quantity. Maybe you want to see sales over here. Anyway, as you would be coming to more deeply into Power BI, you understand the measures. When we talk of measures, it's just a summarization. So that is what we are going to use to form our KPIs. You are going to see that practically. So this is my development tool. I'm going to start off with saying this, that apart from charts, we can also add elements into our reports. So elements like charts, let me go to the insert tab. So elements like text box, chart, button, shape, and so on. So if we had a logo for this report, we would have just come into the image. This is the image here, and would have imputed a logo to that. So we also have options for shapes. This is options for shapes. You will see different kinds of shapes that you can add. So I'm going to be starting off with, let me use this. I can use a rounded rectangle for an example. So for this rounded rectangle, this is the drop down. You can reduce the corners by using this slider. So I'm just going to leave it at 7 if I want to. So you can also use this drop down. You see a lot of shapes for you to select from. So I'm just going to still reduce this a bit. We want to give our title, we want to give it a title, we want to give our report a title. So I want to also make emphasis on this, that how you design your report page is totally down to your creativity and your own requirements. I am not one of a great Power BI or dashboard or reports builder you find around. But so let's say anyhow you want to design your report, it's totally down to your creativity and the requirements from the company. So I have this selected. Having this selected, I'm just going to place this here. I just want to slim this a bit. So for this rectangle, I want to change the colors. By default, you always see a blue color. So I'm going to change the color to, let's just leave it at purple. Should I leave it at purple? Okay, I'm just going to leave it at something more deeper. Okay, yeah, I think this is better. I'm just going to leave it at this. Going to expand this a little bit. Come to my view tab, and I'm going to change it to, let's say, actual size. I wanted to see the icon. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm also going to go to borders and change the colors of the borders to this same color. What I mean by border, let me expand for you to see my report. If you see my report, I hope this is expanded and you can see. You will see that I still have some blue lines. I still have some blue color line at the edge. So this is what I mean by border. So I'm going to change it from blue to purple, and you would not see borders again. So I'm just going to return it back there. Reduce this. I'm going to slim the size a bit, just a bit of it. I'm just going to slim the size. And the next thing we are going to do is going to be for us to give our report a title. That's what we are going to do, give our report a title. So to create a title, I'm going to come over to, still on the Insert tab. You can see I have a text box. So I'm going to select the text box. So the easiest way for you to move this text box, to have this text box moved, is for you to locate this ellipsis, and you can move your text box around. So I'm just going to collapse it a bit, and I'm going to collapse. I'm just going to collapse this a bit. Let me have this a little bit. Let's leave it at that. So this is my text box. I'm just going to place it here. And for my text box, I'm going to edit this at once. I'm going to increase the font to 20. So let's give it a name. Let's say Superstore Sales Analysis. Superstore. What title should we even give it as? I can give it Superstore Sales Analysis. Either, let's say, dashboard or analysis. Let me just leave it at dashboard. So let's say Superstore dashboard. So I'm going to slim this a bit. I'm going to go ahead to change the font size. I'm going to have that highlighted. I could change the color to, I can bold. I can choose to bold if I want to. I can change the colors to, I can increase the font size to 24. And when I increase the font size, that's the font to 24. This is what you are going to see. You are going to see that we have a little scroll bar here, which means that my text has been splitted into the next line. I'm just going to expand a bit. Having that expand, we have Superstore dashboard. I don't even know what color to use. Okay, I think we are just going to leave it at that. We'll also be coming to transformation if we want to. We'll give it the red color. Have this selected. Let's give it the red color. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that. So what I'm going to do, I am going to go ahead to duplicate this, Control C, Control V. I'm going to bring it to this end as well. So like I said, whenever you're trying to design your report, creativity is totally down to you, the reporting requirements and what you want to achieve in your report. So I have Superstore Sales Dashboard. So let's rename this and call this a template. So I'm going to say template, or I'm just going to press enter on my keyboard. So this is a template. I can right click and duplicate my template. So that's what I want to do. So having said that, the next thing we are going to start off with, we are going to start off by placing our card visuals on this report. So that is what we are going to do, placing our card visuals on this report. For my card visuals, I'm going to go ahead to select, this is my card visuals. I'm going to go ahead to select that. I'm going to reduce the size a bit. Just going to reduce the size a bit. So the first card visuals, the first KPI measures I want to have is going to be my, let's say I want to have my, I'm just going to search for revenue, the revenue that we created. So I'm going to have my revenue. So this is my revenue. I'm going to add, the next thing I'm going to add to this, I want to add a background to this image. So I'm going to go ahead to my format, my visuals. So general, I'm going to turn on shadow. So when I turn on shadow, you can see that I have a shadow. Let me click outside. You can see that I have a shadow in this report. So for me, you can also go ahead if you want to change this to, let me see, you can turn on the title. If you want your title headers to be at the top, which I want my titles to be at the top. So I'm going to change this to revenue. I'm just going to type it out, increase the font to, let's say, 16. I'm going to increase the font size to 13. I'm going to place it at the horizontal axis. Just a bit of formatting. And I'm going to go back to my visuals because if I should have this expanded, we still have this revenue here. So I'm going to use my drop down. As for my category label, I'm going to turn that off, toggle in, turn off. So having said that, I'm going to slim this a bit. I'm going to duplicate it as much as I want. For that revenue, I'm just going to duplicate Control C, Control V because I want to maintain size. I want to maintain accurate size on my report. So I'm going to paste again, Control V. Let me delete this because we're going to have profit margin. So let's expand this a bit because we're going to have profit margin. Let me go back to my general. Size. So let me change the font to any font you want to work with. Let me search for semi-bold. Okay, I think I prefer going with that. So I'm just going to duplicate this, Control C, click outside my canvas, Control V and Control V on my reports page. Just going to go ahead to paste this here, take it a slide bit down from the title. I'm going to go ahead to paste. Take it here, and I'm going to go ahead to paste if I want to still paste more of it. So having done that, I'm going to go ahead for revenue. I don't need for revenue. I'm just going to use the X box. So I'm going to search for profits. Let's see profits. Going to select profits. So this is my profit. I go to the next one. I'm going to change the title because it's still recognizing. So quickly, I'm going to change this to profits. So profit has been changed. I go to the next one. So let me change it to profit margin. Profit margin. Slide back to my visuals. That's format my visuals. Remove that. I'm going to select profit margin. So when I created my profit margin, I have this selected. I'm going to display it in a percentage sign. So I'm going to display it in percentage. So this is my profit margin. And the last one I created for total customers. I think I'd love to display net profit. So I'm going to leave it at that. Let me display net profit. So for me to display net profit, because I'm going to be working with a calculated column, so on my orders table, I'm going to right click for a new column. For a new column, I'm going to call it net profit. So for net profit, I'm going to reference my orders of sales. My orders of sales multiplied by, open my bracket, 1 minus my orders of discount. So I'm going to close my bracket and I'm going to commit this. So you are going to see for my net profit. So instead of displaying for net profit, we're also going to display for average net profit. So on this, I'm just going to switch back to my revenue. I'm just going to uncheck that. I'm going to select my net profit column. So you can see that this is my net profit. So peradventure, if you did not want to see the sum of your net profit, you can just use this icon. You see this drop down, you can change to either average that you want to work with, minimum, maximum, and so on. But let's just leave it as sum of net profit. So I'm just going to go ahead to change my title. I'm going to say net profits. I'm just going to leave it at that. So we have created our KPIs for our Superstore dashboard. And the next thing we want to work with, we want to create our line chart. We want to work with a line chart. So to create a line chart, I'm going to go ahead I'm going to switch back to my model view. So this is my calendar table. Let me take this here. So this is a bit here. So this is my calendar table. I want to create a relationship between my calendar and my date. So I'm just going to drag others dates and place it on my calendar date, one-to-many relationship. I'm going to click on save. So you see that a one-to-many relationship has been created. So let's switch back to the report view. I'm going to have the line chart selected. So your line chart is helpful when you want to display trends in your data. So that's what your line chart is helpful for. So I want to display trends in these data sets. I'm going to have the revenue selected. So I'm going to say having the revenue selected. And I'm also going to have, let's say I want to have the months. I'm going to search for months. So months on my calendar table. So let me place this in focus mode. So I hope you can see clearly. You can see that my month is sorted in ascending, rather, it is sorted in a descending order. So this is to let you know that Power BI is sorting it in either in ascending order or in a descending order, ascending order. Some categories of data usually have their natural orders. So we have January before February, and we also have March before April. Same way you can either categorize either from Monday to Sunday or from Sunday to Saturday. So by default, this data is arranged from the highest value. You can see it is arranged from the highest value to the lowest value. Or Power BI can arrange this data for me in alphabetical order. So to change the arrangement of this sorting, I'm going to switch back to my table view. I'm going to let me cancel this. Let me collapse this. Okay, I think that's better. So I want to sort this. Where is it? That's my calendar, that's my month table. I'm telling this month, don't sort by yourself. I want you to be sorted by the month number. So I'm having my month selected. I'm going to switch back to my column tools. I'm going to use the drop down for sort by column, and I'm going to select sort by month number. So when I have that sorted by month number, you are now going to see the natural order for these. I'm going to switch back to my report view. Let me switch back. Okay, sorted by the month number. So let me switch back to my report view. If I switch back to my report view, you'll see that this is still not sorted in the way we would want it to be sorted. It is still sorted in from the largest to the highest value. So I'm just going to click on these three ellipses, and you are going to see sort axis. So I don't want it to sort by revenue. I want it to be sorted by month. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Don't sort it by revenue, because sorting by revenue is from the highest revenue to the lowest. So don't sort by revenue. I want you to sort by month. So when it's sorted by month, I also want it to be sorted in ascending order. That's alphabetical order. So this is how you have seen how to change it. Whenever you are seeing that it is not sorted in the way you want it to, just use the three ellipses and sort it, and use your sort axis by month and in ascending order. So I'm going to go ahead to change I'm just going to go ahead to change the format of these. So I'm going to switch back to, I'm going to have this visual selected. On my format, I'm going to expand my x-axis. So I'm going to expand my x-axis. So for my x-axis, let me put this in focus mode. I don't want to see this revenue. I don't want to see this month because basically these are clusters in my data. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll change this line color as well because we want to stick to purple and red. So I'm going to change the line color. So I'm going to say, I don't want you sorted. I don't want this revenue. We already know this is revenue. So I'm going to increase, let's say I want to increase the font size to, that's for the values. Let's increase the font to, I want to maintain consistency. Let's increase it to 14. And I'm going to turn off the title. So I've turned off the title. So if I should turn that on, you see month. We already know January, February, March, April is month. So this is clusters in our data. So I'm just going to turn that off. And the next thing we are going to do, shall I leave it at 16? Anyway, let's just leave it at that. We might still come back to do a little touching with that. So I go to the on the x-axis, I'm going to expand the x-axis column. And I'm going to say, I don't need, let me expand the values. So just leave it at, let's give it 14. So this is values for my x-axis. But this is what I want to make emphasis on. I'm going to turn on this because already we know this is revenue. I'm going to use the drop down and turn off the titles. So you can see this has been sorted. So another thing I'm going to place, I'm going to go to the line chart. I don't want to use blue. So I want to use, you can change for any lines you want, anyhow you want your line. So dash, dotted, and so on. I won't go for that. Just play around with your visuals. So for the color, I'm going to the color and I want to stick to a purple color. So I want to stick to one color in this report. I don't want to have too many colors in this report. So you can see that this is revenue by month. So I don't want revenue by month. You can also go back to your format, go to general and change title. We can just say monthly trend. Let's use trend, monthly trend. So increase the title, change this size to, let's say semi bold. You can choose to place it at the center. Let's say you can place it at the center if you want to. You can place it at the horizontal, or just leave it at the center. I'm just going to leave it like that. So this is the monthly trends of revenue. You can see the months that was making the most sales. So we'll be coming over to see a lot of interesting visuals as we move forward. So the next thing is to change this to a shadow. I'm just going to turn on the effect. I'm just going to turn on the shadow. So when I click outside my canvas, you are going to see that I have a shadow in this report. So before we move forward, we are going to go ahead to expand this canvas. We want to expand and also close some gaps for the width. So this is where I'm going to make use of a custom. I'm clicking outside my canvas. None of these visuals is selected. So I'm going to switch back to format your report page. I'm going to go to my canvas setting. We were using the default, which was 16:9. I'm going to use, let's say, custom. So for custom, I want to increase the height. We can say, let's use maybe 1020. So I can say 1000. Let me see if I still have some spaces here. So I'll stick with that. I'm going to reduce the width. So let's say 1000. No, that's too close. Let's say 100. Let's use 0. Too close. We can use 20. Let me use 70. So I think I would work with this. So this will enable me to scroll because I still have more visuals to add to this report. So let's just leave it at 1,000 for the heights. I'm just going to leave it at 1,000. So having done that, the next thing, oh, it has cut the other one out. I didn't even notice that. Okay. Let's bring that back in. Canvas settings. That's for the width. Let me just leave it at, maybe for now, I'll just leave it at 1,200. So I'm just going to slim this a bit. I'm going to leave it at 1,300. Still large, 1,200. So I'm just going to leave it at that. As for the width. So the next thing I wanted to show us, we want to make sure this is arranged orderly. So I'm going to have my visual selected, revenue. I select my profit, select my profit margin, and select my net profit. On my format tab, I'm going to use the option, I'm going to use drop down, and I'm going to say align. That's, I want you to distribute it horizontally. I don't want to have more spaces here. You can see I have spaces, more wider spaces here than here. So I want it to distribute horizontally. It should give it maybe the same sizes, the same space size. So I'm going to select distribute horizontally. And you can see that this has been distributed horizontally. Do you have a hand? I'm seeing a few hands. What can be dragged? When I say distribute, I want it like automatic distribution. That's what I mean by distribute horizontally. You can choose to drag by hand. You can choose not to drag by hand, but I wanted it to be automatic. So that's what I mean. So I don't know if I've answered your question. Okay, yes, I've answered your question. If you drag it manually, you might not really get the alignment perfectly. So that's why I said distribute horizontally. So having done that, the next thing we are going to do, I'm just going to go ahead to duplicate these charts. Okay, let's just, you can see that. I'm just going to add the next chart selected, and I'm going to select I'm just going to select a ribbon chart. Someone was asking me yesterday about a ribbon chart. So that's what I'm going to work with right now. So before I go ahead to select a ribbon chart, I'm just going to place this here, drag it, tell and do same for this one. I'm just going to drag it to the end. I'm going to talk about the red lines that you have seen. So if you want to show trends of categories of data that has more than 2 or 3 items, the best chart to use for that is a ribbon chart. So I'm just going to go ahead. This is my ribbon chart. I'm going to have that selected and it has been placed for my ribbon chart. So selecting my ribbon chart, one thing about placing visuals on your reports in Power BI is Power BI already has automatic smart guides. So if I should, you can see I have a line here. So you can see, if you can see this red line, horizontal line. So that's automatic smart guides that allows you to know when your visual has reached same level or the previous one. So you can see if I place it here, it's not in the same level. But if I should place it here, the red lines allowed me to know when it has reached the same level. So as the drag, you can also see that every time I get to the edge, there is a line also at the edge. So for the ribbon chart, I'm just going to go ahead to select still my month. I'm going to have my month selected. I'm also going to have my revenue selected. I'm also going to have my customer, let's say segment. I'm going to have my segment selected at the ledgering. So for this chart, I'm going to expand this in a focus mode. I'm going to explain what this chart does. So you can say that it is obvious that the customer segments are ranking. If I should overrun, it is obvious that the customer segments are ranking change over the period of time. So you can see that the customer segment has always had the highest earning sales. Earning sales. This red, this blue, let me show you this. The blue one is the customers. This legend is a guide. Blue is customers, purple is corporate, and orange is home office. So just look at this. We are going to overrun from the month of January, and this is our consumer segment. Yes, I'm right. The blue purple, the blue color is our consumer segment. So the consumer segment has always been the highest sales earning segment across all the periods of sales, except in the month of October. If you can see clearly, this is the month of October. So you can also see that the corporate segment, which is this purple, the corporate segment just came to overtook it. So there are always two sections for this. The first section is the month section. If I should over around, you see that the section for January begins here. The second section display, this is the second section. Please just follow me. You can see that the second section displays how January changes into February. I don't know if you see what I'm saying. I'm going to go over that again. This is when we talk of ribbon chart has two sections. This is the first one. You can see where we are having January. We see when we are having February, March, April. I think that's too small. So let me explain. I'll still come back to that. So you can see that this first section is where we have the month, which is January. This is another section where we have February. So you can see that there is a gap between January and February, and this gap is the middle. Now, what does this gap do? This second section displays how January changes into February. So this is the bright, this month is a bright area. This is the bright area rather, and the dark area are showing two separate things. So this is the lighter area and this is the bright area. So if you overrun this bright area, it's going to show you details of how the values is changing from, it's showing you details from January to February, and it will also show you the ranking as well. More like showing you the month-over-month variance between January and February. So this darker gray size shows you the value for January. So this is the values for January. So let's check for October. So this is the month of October. We are in the month of, this is the month, we're in the month of October. So you can see that this is the month of October for consumers. So if I should hover around this, okay, yeah, this is what I was looking for. This is if I should hover around this lighter side, you can see that you have seen how the rank of consumers change from the first to the second. You can see September consumers rank 1, October consumer rank 2. So this tells you, it shows you how the rank helps you to see how it's changing from the first to the second and is dropping by one value. So I'm just going to go over that again. It's dropping by one value. So having done that, we're just going to go ahead to format these visuals by changing the font size, the font color, and so on. But I won't be going over that again manually. I'm just going to have my chart selected. I'm going to tell you what your format painter is used for. So instead of me manually going to edit the font size, the font color, changing this and so on, I'm going to have this chart selected. I'm going to click on Format Painter. So when I have my Format Painter selected, I'm just going to go to any little space on these visuals. Let me not use the drop down. So I'm just going to go to any little space on these visuals. You can see I still have this paint, the brush icon. So I'm just going to place on it. So you can see that January, February, March. You can see that my values have been changed. My values have been changed. You can see for January overall, you see some changes in, you see we have the lighter side and we have the darker part. To change the colors. The next thing we want to see, the next visuals, I want you to take a look at. I want you to see profit by category. Let's see the category that is generating us the most sales. So this is where I'm going to go ahead to select a card. Rather, this is where I'm going to go ahead to select a. Okay, let me use this for an example. I love working with the cluster bar chart. I'm just going to expand a bit of this. So for that, I'm going to select my profit. I said profit by what? I want to say profit by, let's say profit by category. Now I'm going to have my profit selected. I'm going to say profit by, let's use category. So we want to see the category that is generating the most profit. So for these visuals, you can hover around this. I don't want to leave these visuals like this, still on my format painter. Would be coming to that. I have these visuals selected. I'm going to highlight my format painter and I'm going to place on this visual. So you can see this has been expanded a bit. So I'm going to go ahead to, I'm going to change the colors. Let's just leave it at maybe something lighter. So format your visuals. Going to go to the bars. So let's say we wanted to see a gradient. We wanted to see a gradient in our cell. So I can go ahead to use this FX icon. So we have the FX. And for the FX icons, we have different rules to it. You can use the gradient, you can use the rules, you can use the value field. So I'm going to stick with the gradient. So what value should we base this off? I'm just going to search for profit. I'm going to base it on profit. So lowest value, what should we give to a lower value? Let's just give it that. And the maximum value, let's give maximum text color. So I'm just going to click on OK. So this tells you the range. It shows you the range, that your range is between 0.2 million to 0.5 million. If you want to do that, if you don't want to do that, you can go ahead to you can go ahead to remove that and turn on your data label. So I'm just going to turn on my data labels. I'm going to expand its fields for my data labels. Values, I'm going to expand for values. And I'm going to say, let's just leave it at 12. So I'm going to give it 12. So having done that, I'll still come back to the colors. So let's create our report. I'm going to still come back to the colors. On another thing I want you to see by our visuals, I also want you to, I want to see by, let's say I want to see top 5 cities by profit, or you can also see top 5 products by profit. So for this, I'm going to say just profits by category. I'm going to Control C, Control V. I'm going to place this here. Placing it there, I'm going to remove my categories. I don't need my categories fields. I want to have my, let's say I want to have product. Let's say I want to see product. Let's say I want to see product. So I want to see products subcategories. Let's look at the product names. Okay, let me uncheck this. So let me go back to the visuals and have this selected. It's placing it on my legend. So I'm just going to drag and place it on my y-axis. So I did a lot of clusters in my data. I don't need these clusters. I'm filtering by profit by product name. I want to see the product that is generating us the most revenue. So I don't want this. I can go ahead to my, this is where I'm going to expand my filter spin. So for my filter spin, what I'm going to do on my filter spin, I'm going to use this drop down for my filters. So for my filters, just give me a minute. So for my filters, I basically have three ways of filtering. I want to filter it by advanced filtering, basic filtering, and top-end filtering. So I want to filter by, if I should have this filtering, this is just manually filtering, that's basic filtering. So I want to filter by top end. I want to see, it's going to ask me top what. So I'm going to say top 5 products, and the value to place on the top 5 products is going to be my profit value. So I'm going to say profit. I'm going to drag and place it here. So when I place it here, I'm going to apply. You can see that no changes has been made. If you also want to see bottom 5 products, you go ahead to do that. So I'm just going to place it, apply filters, and you would see the first 5 products. So you're going to see the product that is generating us the most revenue. So I can also go ahead to turn on these titles because I have my data bar turned on. I'm going to check for titles under my x-axis. So I'm going to search for, use this drop down. I'm going to turn off the values. Have this selected. I'm going to turn on the values. So I don't know if you have a question before I take edit interaction. You let me know. Yes, we are going to rename it to top 5. I can rename it. So profit by product. I can go ahead to general. Thank you for that interesting questions. I'm going to say, what do I give it as? I'm going to say, you can give it, what name do you want to give it as? You can say top 5 products, or you can say, I'm going to say top 5 products, top 5 products. I can also say, no, this for this one is going to be profits by category. So for this one, I'm going to say, just going to top 5. I'm going to say top 5 performing products, or you can say top 5 products. Top 5 products. Let's use top 5 products. Anyhow you want to give it. I can give it top 5 performing products. Anyhow you want to give it. So the next thing I'm going to talk about, I want to talk about edit interaction. So I'm going to change my view to, let me change it to fit to width. I love working with fit to width, but I won't be changing it to fit to width because I'm going to expand this. I want you to say something. I'm going to click back to my view tab. Let's change it to fit to page. There's something I want you to see. So for face to page, the next thing I'm going to talk about how to edit interaction in your report. So for a default, if you see me, I don't know if you can see, but let me expand this just a bit. So if I should click on a single data point, you will see that if I should click on September for an example, you see that currently it is highlighting. So for the month of September, my visuals are interactive. So for the month of September, you can see that all other values have, this is highlighting. It's telling me in the month of September, because I selected the month of, this is a single data point. So this highlighting, it is highlighting values only for the month of September. So you can see that it is highlighting across all other visuals. So you can see that for this ribbon chart, for an example, all other months has been graded out, and only the month of September, let me use this drop down a bit, you can see that only the month of September is currently displaying. So this is highlighting, and this is the default setting. So I can go back to, if I go back to click on the month, still on the month of September again, you will see that it has not, there is no interaction. So if I should click on a single data point, is interacting. This interactivity is happening between the visuals. So this is where I'm going to talk about how to edit interaction in Power BI. So on my format tab, I'm going to, let me click this out. So I'm going to select edit interaction. So when I click on edit interactions, at my tops, you can see each of these. Let me reduce this a bit so that you can see this. Let me reduce this a bit so that you can see. So when I click on edit interactions, you can see that at the tops of these, let me take this like this so you can see better. So you can, it also have edit interactions on the card visuals. So, but I want you to see, or let me reduce this a bit as well. Okay, let me click also the Canva. I saw something there. So I'm going to select I'm going to have my line chart selected. And on my format tab, I'm saying two here. Okay, maybe there is a card visual here. No. Just give me a few minutes. Let me fix that. I'm saying two. So probably, okay, yes, there is for this sales dashboard rather. So I was thinking, and it's also, you see this indeed interaction also for this as well. So I'm going to be talking briefly about edit interaction. So you can see that I currently have my line chart selected. At the top of the chart, you're going to see an option for format. So for format, this is where you have edit interaction. I'm going to go over that again. I've clicked outside my canvas. I'm going to have, you will not see any format option. You only see format when you select one of your visuals. So I have this visual selected. I'm going to click format, and on format, I selected edit interaction. So for the edit interaction, you have seen that I have 3 buttons on each of my tabs. I have 3 buttons at each of my tabs. So I'm just going to be going over them one after the other briefly. Just briefly, we are going to be spending time on it. So when we talk of interaction, you control how a selected visual should interact with other visuals. So at the top, you can see some sets of icons. The first one to the right is none. If I should hover around, you can see none. That means that don't interact with these visuals. So I'm going to start off with that. So, okay, before I start off with that, let's go ahead to explain others. The second one says highlight. It means leave every other details on the chart and highlight that particular amount that concerns my clicking. While the third one is filtering. So let's take a look at the behavior of these. Remember the default behavior. I don't know if you can remember the default behavior. Let me unclick this. And let me just click a single data point so that you remember the default behavior. This is the default behavior. The default behavior is highlighting. So I'm just going to click back on that. I'm going to select edit interaction. I'm going to start by using the none for this chart. So I'm going to start by using none. So I can use for this one, I can use for any of them. So I hope you can see it. I think so that let me just scroll a bit down so you see clearly. So for this chart, for the ribbon chart, I'm going to select none for the ribbon chart. So for this none basically means that starting off with none for this chart. So if I go back to click on the month of September, you'll see that all other visuals are going to respond accordingly. But this one is not going to highlight because I have killed the interaction between the two of them. So I don't even understand what I mean. If you have questions, I'm just going to be taking questions in a few minutes. So let me finish interactions. So I'm going to be taking the next one. I need to hydrate it. So for the next one, you have seen that. Do I have a question on non-interaction? Can we make menus? I don't understand your question, so I'm just going to be going ahead with it. So I'm just going to be going ahead with that. So you can see that for this, I selected none, and it has interacted with each of these visuals, that interacted with all these visuals, but there is no interactivity in the ribbon chart. I killed the interactivity in the ribbon chart. So having done that, the next thing we are going to work on, we want to look at the second option, which is highlight. So I'm just going to click back. I'm just going to go back to this data point. So I'm just going to unclick this. I'm going to select the highlight. So I'm using the ribbon chart as a case study. So I'm going to go back and I'm heading back to select the September. So you can see that for the second option, which is highlight, it is a default behavior you are currently seeing. So I'm going to go back to touch the month of September, and that is just the default behavior. Highlight is default behavior. So let's see for the filter option. So when you use filter option instead of highlighting, it's more or less like you are focusing on that one alone. So therefore, every other details is going to disappear. So let's go back to the September. You would see that just use this as a case study. This one is just using the default options of highlight. So for the ribbon chart, you can see that every other details have been disappeared. So if I go back to click on the month of April, if I go back to click and see if I should go back to click on this again, you will see that it's only going to show us value for the month of September. It's only showing us value for the month of September. I'm working with this because we are talking based on months. So we are seeing revenue by month and we have months in this visual. So it's up to you or the reporting requirements, how you want to change your interactivity. So I'm just going to go ahead, click back now, and I'm going to edit that, take that out. So having done that, we're almost, should I say, 76% to completing our report. So the next thing we are going to look at, we had a duplicate of this report. So before we go ahead with that, I'm just going to give a slicer to this, and we'll be talking about slicers in details. So for slicer, I'm just going to go ahead to use slicer. For slicer, I'm just going to place my slicer at the top, place my slicer at the top a bit. So I want to have my hair for my slicer. I want to have my hair. So this is my hair. I'm going to, is this? Okay, yes, I can place this in focus mode. So for my slicers, I'm briefly going to talk about different types of slicers we have in Power BI. In Power BI, slicers can be displayed in various formats. Let me go back to my report. This is my slicer. If you hover around, you can see this visual is currently selected, and this is my slicer. So let me expand so that you can have a clearer understanding of what I mean. So this is my slicer in my report. So I can use this drop down. You can see, let me just show you briefly what I mean by slicers in my report. So in Power BI, slicers can be displayed in various kinds of formats, depending on the type of data you are dealing with. So I can go ahead to use this. I can be changing the date by going ahead to use these sliders. You see the values are changing as well. I can go ahead to change the dates by using the slicers. So just default, just use the slicers. So for you to change these slicers, I'm just going to go to the slicer settings. On the slicer settings, you'll see a different option of styles we can apply. So this is the between option. I'm just going to run through what each of them looks like very quickly. So for the vertical list, this is the vertical list. This is vertical list. I can have my 214 selected, 215 selected, and I can come here to clear selection. So we have seen for the vertical list. The next one I'm going to look at, we are going to look at for the tails. That's what we are going to look at for the tails. Tails is quite responsive. So if I should expand, you see for all the years. And if I should resize this, you can see I can resize, and I can also adjust by this size. Adjust it down here, and you will see for that. So you have seen for all of them. So the next one we're going to take a look at, I'm just going to use the drop down. So I'm going to stop there. You can as well go ahead. Default was the between, so you saw between. You can go ahead to check for the, you try the less than, and so on and so forth. You play around with your report. So I just want to use my drop down because I love working a lot with drop down. Let me select outside my canvas. Have this selected again. So I'm just going to use the drop down a bit. So you can see this is my hair. So I'm just going to go ahead to apply some settings to read setting headers. Let's just leave it at. Let's use it my format. No, not that. I want to use the other one, semi-bold. So I'm going to use, if we increase it to 13, let's leave it at 13. And I think that slider headers values, these are the values, is this all? So I can just increase or decrease the values. Let's just leave it at 13. So for 13, I'm just going to slim this a bit. I'm just going to resize. I'm slim that a bit. I can just move it a little bit to the side, a bit. So having done that, you can see that this is my slicer. So I'm going to just duplicate this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, instead of going over selecting a new slicer. You can choose to add your months to this slicer. But what I want to add to this slicer is going to be I want to add city to this slicer. You can choose to add months. Okay, let's add, we already have months. So let's just add Let me see. Let's just leave it at months. Okay, let's leave it at months. That is also something. Info. So month, I'm going to take out the year. So this is slicer for months. I think we have months. So I want to show you something quickly. So let's just leave it at city. I'm going to take this out. So let's leave it at city. So let's just leave that at city and take this a bit here so I can resize this a bit. So I'm still having whatsoever. So having said that, yeah, we have year and city. Parental, I would have placed month and year, but we already have a month, and I want to show you something working with the slicer. So when you're working with yours, you can choose to place month or thereabout. So moving forward, I'm going to work with, let's quickly go back to create. This is a template, so we are just going to duplicate this. I'm going to duplicate our template, and I'm going to rename this to overview. So let's rename it to, let's say, sales overview. Please just give me a minute. I'll be taking questions. Let's rename this to sales overview. So I'm going to rename this to, we can say, let's rename it to customers. Let's say products / customers. So I'm just going to be working with that. So for the second one, we are just going to create, we are going to be creating this and this with it. So I can go back here, have my table visual selected. I can just come back here. I just want to copy. I'm trying to save time. I'm going to copy my revenue, maybe profits, Ctrl+C, just trying to save time. And I'm going to place it here. So I'm just going to place it there. I'm supposed to duplicate this so we can have accurately. So let me just duplicate this. I'm just going to duplicate that. So let's rename this to, let me rename it. Let me just save time. Let me rename it to profit and customers. Let's also see for product and / customers. Oh, because I already have product and customers. So let me see. I'm going to just delete this, right click to delete. So let me put expand fit in view tab, fit to page. So this is my overview. You can call this sales overview. So this is my product table. We want to have information about the product. So this is my sales overview. So this is going to be information about the product. I have my year and I have my city. So I'm going to leave my revenue. I'm also going to leave my profit. What I'm going to change is going to be my total customers. So I'm going to change to total customers. So I'm going to change the title to, let's see, customers. Let's just say, we can also say number of customers. Please, I'm coming for questions. Just give me a few minutes. I'll attend to questions. I'm trying to number of customers. So don't forget what I want to teach. Please, I'm just coming to questions. Just give me a few minutes. I'm coming to questions. We're going to talk a lot about it. So moving on, this is number of customers. For net profit, I'm going to change. Okay, I think I can leave net profit here. I can maybe take out profits, anyone you want to work with, number of profits. So let's just take that out. Let's bring this here. I'm going to change it. So I'm just going to duplicate this, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. Anyhow you want to place your arrangement on your visuals. So for visuals, a new measure we want to create is going to be numbers of products. And I want to make emphasis to this by switching. I'm going to come to questions. Please just give me a few minutes. So I'm going to switch over to, let me have the orders table selected. So for this orders table, I'm looking for a repeated value. Okay, yes, I think I've seen what I'm looking for. Can you just let me expand my screen? No, I can't expand with this. So I want you to look at the 2014. This is the order ID for the orders table. We have, I need a repeated value. We have 2015, and order date was Monday, 16 March, and so on. Ship date, same day, standard class, and so on. Customer ID, reps is a duplicate data set, right? So I'll just be looking at chat session. I have my network is unstable. Please just confirm you can hear me. I'm just seeing that my network is unstable. I don't know. Please, can you hear me? I don't know. I can't see my screen. Please just confirm that you can hear me. I've been lost. Okay, sorry. I didn't know. Okay, yes, you can hear me right now. So sorry about that. So I was explaining. I said something about that. You should look at the 2015 CA 2015. So please, can you see that? There are two repeated values here, 215, Monday 16 till. Let's stop at location ID. Can you see that? Can you see that? Okay, yes, you can see that. All right. So I want to explain this. I want to let you know that is something similar to, for example, you walk into a superstore, you want to purchase, let's say, beverages. You walk into a supermarket, and you when you walk into super, you have this order ID. That's kind of order ID. So your order IDs, you walk into superstore, you have order ID. You are the same customer. That is why we have this. Where we have 215 to 15, we have for customer. You are the same customer. There is no duplicate of you. But the location where this product will be shipped to is still the same location. So you can walk into a supermarket, you buy phone, you buy generator, you buy laptop, you buy, let's say you buy power bank, you buy and so on. So you have purchased about 5 products. Just so you know, your customer ID is still the same because it's one customer that is ordering all these products. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It's one customer that is ordering all these products, but the product ID would differ. So if I should slide to my product ID, we have Atlanta, we have, this is a product that this customer was purchasing. So product ID for, let's say, generator would be different, product ID for power bank would be different, but still the same customer. So that's what I wanted to make emphasis on. So having said that, that's what I want to do. We want to see for product ID. So we are going to switch back to our report view. So for my report view, I'm going to quickly go to my measures, new measure. For measures, I'm going to say okay, we can also say number of managers. So let's say we can just say managers, because this is going to be, we are slashing this report. This is product and customers. That's what I've had for managers. So I'm going to say customers / employees. I'm going to rename that. So managers, let's see for managers. So managers is going to be, I'm going to use a function, distinct, rather, I'm going to use distinct count of sales rep managers. So I'm just going to use that, and I'm going to select this. So you can see that I've created my measure for manager. So I'm just going to take out this measure, and I'm going to place my managers. Let's see the numbers of managers we had in that company. So I'm going to general title. I'm going to take these to, let's say, managers, for an example. I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. Let me just switch this back up. And the next thing we are going to do, let me just quickly rename these two. Let's say employees / customers / So that is it. This is sales overview. I should have also created, you can also create it at your own time. You can also create to see for products. So for this, I don't want to have in this report, I'm creating for employees and customers table. So this is employees and customers table. So I don't want to see a line chart for this report. I want to see the top performing customers in this region. I want to see the top customers that have been purchasing our product. So this is what I'm going to go ahead to. You can also get to see the customers, the sales managers that has been generating the most sales. So I'm just going to go ahead to remove this. Also going to go ahead to remove this, and also going to place this here. So for that, I'm going to switch back to my visuals. I'm going to take out the categories. I want to see my revenue. I want to see revenue by sales managers. I'm going to say revenue by sales team managers. Okay, that's not the good visuals for that. You can always see the right visuals to use. I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to place it here. But I want to use the cluster bar chart. I love working with that chart. So you can see that this is the revenue by sales team manager. So I can say title, performing. I can say, was it profit? I think revenue by managers. You want to see the particular manager that sales team is coming to his office. You can say revenue by managers. Anyhow you want to title it. So I'm just going to leave it at revenue by managers. So the next thing we want to see, we want to look at a table visual. That's what the next thing I'm going to do. Please remind me to talk about sliders. I really want to talk about sliders. I want to talk about table visuals. So for table visuals in Power BI, we have two types of table visuals in Power BI. We have table and we have metrics. So in Power BI, what varies is how they are arranged. So for this, I'm just going to go ahead to let you know that for table table is unidirectional, and for metrics is bidirectional. So quickly, I'm just going to select my metrics visual. I'm going to select for my metrics visuals. I want to select my customers. I'm going to say, I'm going to select my customer's name. I want to see the customers that has been generating the most revenue. So I'm going to say customer's name. We can see revenue. I'm going to select revenue, and I'm also going to select profits. So that's what we're going to see. We can select profits. So for this profit, okay, for this chart, I don't want to see, for this chart, I don't want to see total. I don't want to see the total of this chart. So this is where I'm going to go ahead to my settings. I'm going to turn on, you see, if I can, I'm going to turn off for subtotal, and I'm also going to turn off for row total. So having done that, I quickly want to show you something about that chart. I'm going to go ahead to sales element. This is what I wanted to show you. So for sales element, if you were to work with, wanted to work with a tree map visual, maybe you wanted to create heat map, so you can just turn on the colors for revenue. You can turn on the colors. We're just going to look at them briefly. I'm just going to turn this off. You can see 4 font colors. You see that most of them has been highlighted. You can turn on the data bars. These data bars help you see, oh, which particular customers is bringing in most customers. You can turn in to have icons. I can turn off the bars. You can turn in to see icons. So and so on. So I'm just going to leave it at the data bars. We are just going to leave it at data bars. So for these data bars, this is an FX button. How do you want it to display the lowest value and so on? I don't need blue. I want to work with lights. I think I'm going to work with this lighter color. And axis should be the way it is. That's for maximum. So let's work with a deeper purple color. So I'm going to click on OK. So you can still see the values. So having done that, I don't want to see, for this profit, I don't want to see the values. We're already tired of values in this column. So I'm going to go ahead to quickly go to so on my reports page, this is my reports page. I can as well bring my profit margin. You can see I can bring in my profit margin. And for my profit margin, I can right click to say show values as row totals. So I'm going to select show values as row totals. And you would see 100%. What I don't want to say, I'm going to say show values as percentage of grand total. So this is the percentage of grand total. You would see how much percentage this company is applying to that. So having done that, I'm going to say percentage contribution, but I wanted to show it in profit. So let's use profit. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say it's show value as, not row total, show values as percentage of grand total. So you would see how much percentage contribution this is generating. No. Let me use the profit margin rather. Let's use profit margin as grand total. So I can rename this by renaming on, I can say rename visual. So I'm going to say percentage contribution. I'm going to say percentage contribution. So I'm also going to go to the sales element as well and apply some formatting. Please just give me a few minutes. I'll be coming to questions. I'll soon be done. Our dashboard is 99.1% done. I'm going to select profit as well. I'm going to turn on the data bars. For profit, you can turn on the data bars. You can turn on off the font colors. The font with the highest, the deeper colors, you see the one that is generating the most revenue. You can turn this off. If you want to turn on the background colors, you can turn it on. So quickly, I'm just going to leave it at that. You have just seen a preview of how to go about that. So I'm going to click back to my reports page. My reports page, you cannot really see the values. I'm going to come to on my general title. We can call it, let's give it a title. We can call it customers segment. We can call it customers attributes. Let's say customers attributes for an example. So we can call it customers attributes. We can change the font to, no, let me change it to my favorite font, Zigio semi-bold. And then you can see, we have these drop downs where you get to see all the customers' contribution. But I don't want to, you can choose to see for all the customers if you want to. Let me put this in focus mode. So I can choose to, you see I have some lines here. I can expand and just choose to expand at that. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. So another interesting visuals I want to show you. I'm going to select this. I want to show you visuals for segments. So that's what I want to show you. I'm going to show you visuals for segments. So for segments, I'm just going to duplicate these charts. Having done that, I'm going to change it to, let's say, form, because we are working with customers. So let's see segments that customers mostly purchasing from. Let's see segments. Did I work with segments in this other one? Okay, that was category. So this is segment. So we have consumers, we have corporate, and we have home office. So this is a segment for customers. That is the segment for customers. I'm going to change the title. I was supposed to duplicate these charts. Okay, so Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. I also wanted to work with a map visual. So we're also going to see for map quickly. This fits in here. So I think I can place my map somewhere. So let's see for managers. We were supposed to work with managers. So for the map, we are also going to see we want to see for region that was generating the most revenue. Okay, we're about to talk of managers. So let's say managers. There are a lot of insightful information to generate from your chart. So you don't have to, let me just have this selected. Nope, I'm going to place it on my x-axis. Revenue. Oh, because this is showing me a count. Let me see for revenue. So let's see for managers. Managers. I don't need a count. Let's go to the other state, customers table. So let's look at sales. I saw sales team manager. So I'm going to have my sales team manager selected. You can use this drop down. So this is my sales team manager selected. So this one is going to be revenue by segment. Let me quickly change that. Please pardon me. I'll be taking questions in a few minutes. Revenue by segment. So this is revenue by managers. So the next thing we want to look at, we want to build a report for map. So I'm going to have my map selected. So this is my map and it should fit in here. I've not forgotten. Please, someone should remind me to show you something on slicers. I've not forgotten that. So I'm going to fit this here. Fitting this here, I want to check for, let's see, we want to see revenue. We want to see the region. I'm going to say revenue. Revenue by, is it city? Is it states? I didn't even select anything. Revenue by, for maps, let me see. I want to see revenue by city. So let's say revenue by city. I'm going to have my city selected. So this is my revenue by city. But let me put this in focus mode. This is my revenue by city. You can see this is my revenue by city. But I'm just going to go ahead to show you a little trick in 2 seconds. I don't really like the way my visual is being displayed. So I'm just going to go ahead to, let's say, that's when we talk of geographical distribution of cells across all the states. So for this, we are working with a map? We are working with a map for this. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to right click. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to collapse this, collapse this. I'm going to go ahead to, I'm just going to right click my location. Let's say new column. I want to work with new column. So I'm going to, for that new column, I'm going to say city, let's say city country for an example, equals to, I'm going to reference my city, my location, city, and I'm going to use an ampersand. I'm going to use a quote, I'm going to add US, close the quote, and I'm going to press enter on my keyboard. So what this really does is going to combine the city and the US. So let's switch over to my report view. This is what I want to do. So I want to place this column on my location. So instead of having this here, I'm going to take this out. Okay, before I place it, let me just place it. I'm going to place my city country. So if I overrun, it always requires internet. I don't know if you can see that this is still loading. It was still loading. It's still loading. So having placed that, I'm going to take this out. Let me work on this. So I'm going to have this map selected again. Having this map selected again, I'm going to place my city and I'm also going to place my revenue. So let's place our revenue. So for this map that for this column that I just created, which was the city column, so I'm going to go ahead. I talked about this yesterday, about the data category. This is a geographical distribution. So I'm just going to use the drop down and I'm going to select place. It's just a little tweak for that. So that thing that's still okay. Yes. So this is how I wanted. I don't know. Let me expand for you to see. So this is how I wanted my data to look like. This is a United States data. So this is how I wanted it to look like. We can see we have a lot of interesting states, Mexico, and so on. So I'm just going to click back to my report And on my report, you can go ahead to format using your format visuals. For the bubbles, I want to you can go ahead to change the colors if you want to. I don't have much time to dwell much on the colors, but when you are building your reports, you can do it better than mine. So this is revenue by. Let's rename that to revenue by. Let's say general title, revenue by. So we are going to use city. Since this is already a country, there's going to be revenue. See these bubbles that should overround. So this is revenue by city. So I can come back to this report instead of me having location for if you can rename these visuals. I can rename it to, let's say, revenue country. I think that is better. So having done that, we are 99.5% almost done with our report. So in few minutes, I'm just update with this. I did not have a region. I already have my city. So I'm going to remove the fields and I'm going to place region quickly. This region. So I wanted to talk, you are going to go ahead to ask your question. I'm going to change this as well to region. So having done that, another thing I want to work with, I want to talk about slicers. That's what I wanted to talk about. So you can see that I have my year slicer, I have my region slicer here. And coming to my employees table, I also have my year, I also have my region. I'm coming to questions. Give me a minute, please. And the next thing I'm going to work with, I want to work with, this is my template. This was my template. I'm going to use my template as an example to this report. So having done that, I'm going to go into my view tab on my views. I'm going to select fit to, I'm going to select, let's say fit to page. So I want to copy these slicers. For an example, I'm going to hold this. I'm going to have this selected and have this selected just for an example. I'm going to copy this slicer. When I copy this slicer, I'm going to come to my template and I'm going to paste. So pasting this, you're going to see a pop-up that says one or more of the copied visuals can stay in sync with the visuals it was copied from. Do you want to keep them in sync? What I want to explain is that I want to sync this slicer in the same sense that if a user is currently on this cells, okay, I'm going to that. So what I want to do is this, that I want to sync this report in a way that if a user is currently on this sales overview. So let me say, for example, I selected 215 in that year. For example, I select 215. It means that across all the reports that I have, I want to have 215 in this report. So I'm going to go ahead. There are two methods of doing that. So I'm going to also explain singing in full detail. So the first method is used when you don't really have several reports. That's when the first method is used, when you don't really have several reports. So like in this case, I'm going to go ahead, I've copied it and I have pasted it. So you have seen this pop-up dialog box that is asking me if I want to sing these slicers. So in this option, I will go with sing. So that is the first option. So if I should, let's say I want to filter to, for example, 2016, I filter to 2016 in this template. Let's go over to sales report in sales. You see that all of them has been filtered to 2016. Let's go to employees table and you can as well see that it has been filtered to Okay, this has not been filtered to 2016. Let me go back here. Okay, yes, it's because I did not sing the other one. So this is what I mean by sing. So we'll just take a look at the 12, for example, 215. Let me have the 215 selected. I did not sing this other one. So on my sales overview, I had 215 selected in templates. You can see that 215 is selected here. So I'm going to go, I've talked about the first option. So the next option is when you have several report pages that you want to sing across all at once. So I'm just going to go back to, this is my sales overview, and I'm going to go to, this is my view tab. By default, you always have 3 panes where we have the filters pane, the visualizations pane, and the data pane. So on this panel, let's say I want to select, I'm going to select, it's going to be Sync Slicer. So this is what I want to select. So I want to apply. So having selected this, on this sales overview, I'm going to select the year slicer. So I've selected the year slicers. So for the year slicers, I want to explain what this means. I want to explain what this means briefly. So you can see that I have page names. I have 3 pages: template, sales overview, and employee. So when I have 2 options. This is sing and this is I. This is what I mean by I. So if I should change this on my employees, where was my employees table? Oh, I mistakenly moved this. So if I should change it from 215 to, let's say, 2017, and if I should go to my template, you are going to see that this is synced together. But let's go back to the sales overview so I can explain what I mean by sync. Let me have this selected so you can see. So you can see that this is telling you that this employee's customer. Have you seen my employee's customer? It means that my employee's customers is not synced. That's why this is not tick. This icon, this little icon you see here is sync. Why this little icon means visible. It means that we also have this slicer on the employees table. This slicer is on the employees table, but it is not synced. So I'm just going to go ahead to my sales overview. I'm going to have this particular slicer selected, and I'm going to click on this employees customer. So if I should switch back to employees customers, you will see that it has been synced to 217. So even if I should have from the year selected to, let's say, 2016, or I can just filter not by that. I can also filter to, let me click outside my canvas. I can also filter to the southern region. So just filtering to southern region now, and I go at the template, you will see 216. You see 216 is because I have the other one selected. So I'm filtering to south. So this is 216 for years. I had the year selected. So let's see for region. I did not have region. You see, region was not synced as well. So if I sync these together and I go to sales overview, you would see that I also have south selected and I also have south selected. Even if I should come here, select for western region, and I go back to each of those reports, you're going to see for western region, and for employees table, you are going to see for western region. So this other option of sync is when you have diverse reports on your report. So I'm 99.9% complete with building my report. Now I'm going to show you how to share your report. So I'm just going to distribute these horizontally. Format. You are going to ask questions, so please just give me a few minutes. Distribute horizontally. And when that is distributed horizontally, you can as well try to close this gap if you want to. when it's good to build a good report, take your time to build a good report, but I'm already behind time. So for me to share this report online, I don't want, this was just a template for us. I don't want to share this template. So I'm just going to go ahead, right click, and I'm going to click on hide. It means that this report would not be shared. So I can go to sales overview. This is my sales overview report. Let me click the selection. And let me also play the selection for this. I did not have time to work with the colors, but you can as well work with that at your end. So this is also my employees table. You can see that when I click the selection, everything has been cleared. So I want to go ahead to share this report online, either with your stakeholders or with your friends. I can just go ahead to collapse this. So I come to my file. On my files, I can just come to publish. If you're publishing, you publish it to Power BI, then Power BI saves. So this is where you get to share your report online in Power BI service. That's if you have either your company's account to publish. So I'm going to quickly go to the options of export. So I'm going to export this to PDF. So when I have that exported to PDF, you'll see it's trying to generate a PDF report for me. So when that is generated, you are going to see that you would not see these templates. You will not see the templates here, and it's trying to generate a report. So I'm going to be taking questions in just 2 seconds. Let's take questions. So this is a PDF of my work. I can go ahead to share this report online. You would only see for the superstore sales, and you will also see for this order, the second report we created. You would not see for these templates because we right click and we click on hide. So I don't know, let me go to the chat box. I know you have a lot of questions for me. So let's go to the chat box.
Okay, thank you very much, Awak. It has been a long day. Yeah, it has been a long day, and I know this is very intentional, because we couldn't kick off very early with the class. We on the call, and then we are attending to other parts of the meeting. The experiences, and it actually eat a bit into our time, and we have actually stayed very long today. Okay, good. So, uh, you may not be able to attend to questions now. We have a group already dedicated for that. So you just join us on the Telegram group. If you are not yet on that group, just my colleagues will be dropping the link to the Telegram group on this call. So you can just join the Telegram group and let the conversation continue there. So thank you very much. Please, everyone on this call, I want you to celebrate our work with your favorite emoji. It has been awesome 5 days of learning. I am excited, and I'm sure you are also excited. It has been a good one, a deep one. We've done a deep dive, and I'm very sure that a lot of us on this call, we go on our LinkedIn pages, different social media pages, and now boast that we are data analysts and we are proficient using Microsoft Power BI. Thank you very much, Awak, for your support and for guiding the participants through this journey. So everyone, let's continue the conversation on our Telegram group. If you are here to submit to drop your attendance, it is very important to do that. Okay, because that's what we're going to use to confirm your presence at this meeting. So thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, bye-bye.